Hey guys, so yesterday we talked about obedience versus attitude, and we had some really great responses, which I haven't gotten a chance to get back to just yet, so bear with me. Things have been really busy, but I will get back to all your comments just as soon as I possibly can. One thing I wanted to say about it is that I think several people, or a lot of people, got it, and a lot of people kind of missed some of the meat of what I was trying to get to. And I want to clarify what I'm talking about attitude. Attitude doesn't mean necessarily that a dog just blows off commands. It can, but it doesn't just mean that. It doesn't just mean that it doesn't just mean that a dog is not listening. It doesn't mean that a dog is not responsive. But once again, it can mean that. But what I really want you guys to get is to look deeper. I want you guys to think about how you do it with human beings. Like, you can be talking with a human being and they can be saying something that's totally incongruent with what they're actually like presenting or exhibiting, right? And we're so tuned into that that we know it when we see it or feel it, right? Or hear it with human beings. So a human being can have an attitude that's in a bad space, but can be conducting themselves in a way that appears to be otherwise, or saying something that appears to be otherwise, right? So if we use those same skills that we use with humans and transfer it to dogs, which is a more complicated because we're humans, so it's easier to read ourselves, and oftentimes a lot of it is verbalized with humans and things like that. But with dogs, you're going to get less obvious overt signals, unless they're trying to bite you, and that's probably pretty obvious. But what I'm talking about is like looking at dogs and looking for larger contexts of decision making, right? Not mistakes. Mistakes can come from a lot of places, but decision making. Decisions made out of attitude, of I'm going to do this no matter what you say, versus I'm confused or I'm distracted or I'm overwhelmed or whatever it is, right? We always say that we want to help confusion and we want to correct brattiness or poor choices, things like that. I just think it's a really important kind of hack if we start to think about the same way that we're able to read human beings and read attitude, and it informs us a ton about how we feel about those human beings and then how we interact and respond with them. But we tend to see dogs in a more kind of like limited fashion, more kind of one-dimensional. And I don't mean everybody. I know you guys are smart folks. I know you see dogs in like different ways, but like I don't think people see them as deeply as they can as far as attitude stuff. And we're talking beyond drive, we're talking, beyond just straight up obedience things and reliability and blah blah blah. There can be so many things that are folded into that, or causes. I really want you guys to think about attitude and feel it. We're talking about feeling it from the dog, right? And yeah, there's visual signals. You're gonna see a dog that's like, you're gonna give them a call and they're like, and if you're really on top of your game, you're gonna go, I saw the dog look for options and ideas, or different possibilities rather than listening to me. That's not a dog who's confused. That's not a dog who's distracted. That's a dog who's like, maybe I can tell you to go kiss my behind, right? That's a dog who's thinking that. Or it can be a dog that's not just excited at thresholds, but is pushy at thresholds, right? You can get dogs that are like, I just can't wait to go for a walk. Then you can get a dog that pushes into you in a certain way, or has a certain energy behind the way they're trying to get out through the threshold. It's got a very different flavor to it, right? Both dogs trying to get out through the threshold. One, innocently excited. The other, get the F out of my way. I want to go out there. Very different things. Same thing I think I talked about crate and things like that in the text. Same thing with crate. You can see dogs that are like, I'm excited to come out of the crate, or I'm scared of being in the crate. Or you can get dogs that are like, I'm coming out of the crate. Get out of my way. now. Or I'm getting into that crate. I don't care what you say, right? I mean, like, if dogs could verbalize it, that's how they'd be verbalizing it. If you work with enough dogs, or if you're sensitive enough and tuned in enough, you'll actually start to see these things in the dogs you're working with or your own dog. And don't just be like, well, Sean said to look for attitude. My dog's not listening, so he must be an a-hole. No, he could be confused, he could be overwhelmed, he could be excited, he could be like doing his best work and struggling. What I want you to do is apply the same skills that you utilize every day with human beings effortlessly to determine intent and who they are to your dogs. It's harder. It's harder. You got to look closely, and you got to look just beyond the obvious, and you got to look just beyond, like, are they listening to my commands, and are they walking in a heel? And you got to look at what's motivating them to make those choices. What's the emotional motivation or intent behind those choices? Are they just squirrel driven? Are they just excited about a squirrel? Oh, I just can't, I can't help myself. Or are they, I'm headed over here. You, kiss my behind. I'm going over here. Literally, that contrast exists, and we see it all the time. Typically, you'll see it in a dog that will, like, be corrected for the squirrel thing and be like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. Or a dog that's corrected for the squirrel thing and, like, looks back at you and is like, right? So anyways, I don't want to go too long on this, but I just thought it deserved a little bit more of a deeper thing. And that's that attitude is the holy grail, guys. It's really like, if there's anything that I think we're really, really talented at here, I think it's reading attitude in dogs, attitude, intent, and demeanor, and then allowing that to inform how we move forward with the dog. And I want you guys to be able to grab onto that and utilize that in the same way. Yes, you can use obedience and correct and use consequences for poor choices, and all that stuff super valuable. And that's gonna cultivate a better attitude, right? You gotta listen to me, you can't do that, you can't do better attitude. But if you're really looking carefully, you'll see things beyond those obedience moments, and you'll see crappy attitude choices if you've got a crappy attitude on your hands. And then you wanna be looking to correct those moments maybe more significantly than you would just your excited dog, right? Maybe that moment needs something more firm. Maybe that moment needs, maybe that moment's not even an obedience moment. Maybe that's just a crappy, like, look at another dog. Maybe it's a crappy look at a person in your house. Maybe it's like, it could be so many different things. And like I said, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with this. I just know that for me, I've worked really, really hard at feeling and seeing from the visual signs, but also feeling the attitude behind the dog. And that informs so much of, like, how much pressure I apply in different contexts of training, how much pleasure, how much pressure I don't apply, when I apply it, how firmly, when I remove it, things like that. And I think that's super duper important. And if you don't have a read on the intent and attitude and demeanor, you can really find yourself struggling even with obedience stuff, because you won't be able to discern whether it's like confusion or decision. Right? So decisions are made out of, I want this, screw you, right? And then confusion is, I don't know what to do, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm just innocently distracted, something like that. So anyways, just a little bit of a deeper thing. I want you guys to dive in and just challenge yourself. And like I said, I'll get back to you guys' responses on there. I hope this makes sense. If not, I'll make another video and we'll try and clarify even more. So anyways, gotta run. You guys take care. Any questions, hit me up in the comments. See ya.